Ricans are not like any other immigrant group in New York City. That's not an opinion, that's history, because Puerto Ricans didn't arrive in New York. We helped build New York. After World War II, hundreds of thousands of Puerto Ricans moved to the city. In 1945, there were only about 13,000 Puerto Ricans living in New York, but just 10 years later, that number exploded to nearly 700,000. By 1970, more than 817,000 Puerto Ricans lived in New York. More than 1 out of every 10 New Yorker was a Puerto Rican. But here's what made us different. Puerto Ricans weren't arriving through Ellis Island hoping to become Americans one day. We already were Americans. Since 1917, Puerto Ricans have been United States citizens. We weren't outsiders trying to get a piece of the American pie. We were already baked in. When New York needed workers after the war, Puerto Ricans answered the call. We worked in factories, built roads and buildings, drove buses and trains, staffed hospitals, became teachers, police officers, firefighters, entrepreneurs, and public servants. We started making history. Oscar Garcia Rivera became the first Puerto Rican elected to public office when he won the seat in New York State's Assembly in 1937. He helped draft New York's unemployment insurance laws and fought for workers during the Great Depression. Then came Herman Badillo. In 1970, he became the first Puerto Rican elected to U.S. Congress. Representing the Bronx, he fought for bilingual education, housing, and opportunities for working-class families. Antonia Pantoja, she founded Aspira, one of the most influential Latino educational organizations in American history, helping generations of Puerto Rican students attend college and achieve professional success. Our influence went beyond politics. When New York ignored Puerto Rican neighborhoods in Spanish Harlem and the South Bronx, we organized. The Young Lords became one of the most influential civil rights organizations in New York history, with Geraldo Rivera, the Puerto Rican Jew, providing legal defense. When garbage piled up in East Harlem and city services failed residents, they swept the streets and piled the garbage into the middle of 3rd Avenue, forcing the government to pay attention. They fought for better medical services, making sure that Puerto Rican communities were not to be ignored. And culturally, Puerto Ricans helped create the soundtrack of New York City. Tito Puente became the king of Latin music. Hector Lavoe became the voice of salsa. Willie Colon helped create the New York salsa sound, blending Puerto Rican rhythms with American jazz and urban culture. Let's talk about hip hop. Puerto Ricans were there from the very beginning. The South Bronx wasn't just the birthplace of hip hop, it was the birthplace of Puerto Rican breakdancing, graffiti art, DJ culture, and street performances that helped shape a global movement. So when people talk about Puerto Ricans in New York, understand something. We didn't just contribute to New York. We helped change election laws across America. And every year, more than 1 million people line the streets of Manhattan for the Puerto Rican Day Parade, one of the largest cultural celebrations in the entire United States. Why? Because Puerto Rican culture is not a side note in New York history. It is New York history. It's a history that matters, our contributions matter, and our culture deserves to be understood, preserved, and celebrated. Because Puerto Rican history isn't separate from American history. It is American history.